All right, okay, everyone, please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, November 15th, 2021 Board of Supervisors meeting for New Britain Township. The board met an executive session prior to this meeting to discuss personnel and land acquisition. Okay, so at this time, the next on the agenda is the chair comments. Chair has no comments at this time. Next on the agenda is presentation items. I guess I'll turn over to Matt for explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have representatives tonight to present a bridge, a county bridge project. I believe right up in front of you, as well as some fancy schmancy graphics. So, whoever is ready to give a presentation, now be the time.
Okay. A great presentation, thank you.
Do you want me to sit here and stand or we?
Whatever you.
It might actually be nice for the audience to see these.
Move those back, turn the back way. The better news could be able to look at them.
You could put one over behind the chief if you wanted, and kind of angle over slightly. We don't see them at all. No, we don't have to, I'm kidding.
I'm going to start on this side.
So, my name is Archie Allen with Pickering Courts in Somerset. We're the design engineers for the project. Is the replacement of Bridge 54, which is King Road over Hercatton Creek. The project is this side. So the project's located about a quarter mile south from Route 313 on King Road. And King Road is classified as a rural local road. Has a low volume ADT or low traffic volume. And it's a 2-lane roadway. And as it approaches the bridge from either side, it narrows quite a bit. So it's 2 lanes as it approaches, but it narrows to about 16 feet at the bridge, which basically only allows one vehicle from each direction to cross at a time. So, the existing bridge is it was built in 1912, and it's a concrete encased steel I-beam bridge, and it's in poor condition and it needs to be replaced. The proposed bridge, which you can see here in red, is it's going to be a spread box beam. Remember this side again. Spread box beam bridge, as you can see here in this typical section. Pre-stress, pre-stress concrete box beam bridge, and it'll be wide to meet PennDOT standards from the 16 feet existing width of the bridge to 2 10-foot lanes and 2 2-foot shoulders, which will allow both lanes to simultaneously cross. The bridge railing, proposed bridge railing will look similar to this shown here. It's the name of the railing is type 10M, and it's got a brown powder coating to it, as you can see. And it's an open railing. The guide rail will be replaced at all 4 corners of the bridge, and the guide rail will be meet current PennDOT standards. The guide rail will also have that brown powder coating, as you can see in this picture here. The proposed bridge will have a span of approximately 62 feet, or a span length of 62 feet. The existing bridge has a span length of about 33 feet, which really doesn't accommodate the large flooding events. The size of the opening now is a little undersized. So the reason we're lengthening that span is to increase the hydraulic opening. You can see this is the existing opening here, and this is the proposed. These are the proposed abutments. So opening that up will be, the bridge will be able to accommodate major flood events without overtop, or less likely to overtop. The approach roadway at each side of the bridge will be reconstructed to meet the new bridge width. You can see that in yellow here. The other reason we wanted to move this abutment back, so I don't know if you can see it in this picture, but the existing openings, the existing abutments are located here and here, and these are the new abutment locations. We wanted to better align the upstream and downstream channels with each other. So currently the stream actually takes a turn and kind of flows parallel to the face of the bridge before it flows onto the bridge. So we wanted to realign the bridge abutment of the upstream and downstream a little bit better, which will help with erosion in the future and with possibly any stream migration that can happen. I did want to mention with the guide rail that we are extending, so we're replacing it at all four corners, but we're extending it on the southwest side a little bit longer than at the other corners. And that's to protect the roadway from, there's an adjacent stream that gets pretty close to the road. And that's basically just to protect the roadway from that stream. And there's also an existing utility pole here as well. We wanted to extend that guide rail a little bit further back to protect the road. I think that's about it as far as the bridge itself, but the estimated let date at this point for construction is early 2023, and the duration of construction will be approximately 6 to 8 months, and it'll be the road will have to be closed during the construction period. So the road will have to be detoured from roughly from New Galena Road. It will be detoured on O'Brien Hill, and then up around Upper Stump, and then back to on 313 back towards the road. So like I said, that'll be 6 to 8 month duration. So that's about all I have for the project. Does anybody have any questions?
Hold on one second. So is this official public comment for our meeting, or is this just for the presentation? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. My house is on this side of the road.
On this side?
Yeah. So the little creek is across from me.
Right.
So if we're gonna widen the road, we're gonna have to take it off my property.
Well, the road will be widened, like I said, for maybe about 50 feet or so, a little bit longer than 50 feet from the bridge in each direction. It'll be widened a little bit. At this time, we do show required right of way to take a little bit of that to accommodate that widening. So yes, that's correct.
Do you know what the weight limit is on the other bridge that precedes this bridge, the one closer to 313?
It's right now it's posted for 7 tons.
Right, but is that for both bridges, or is that for the smaller bridge? And will the 7 tons change after you construct this new bridge, because the old bridge will still be there?
I honestly don't know the details of the other bridge, but
It's a township bridge.
Township bridge, yeah. So I'm not familiar with with what that can handle. So whether that posting changes, that's a good question.
Great has.
Yeah.
Do you have any preliminary requests yet? I know you got.
Yeah, we're in the preliminary design phase of this stage. let's say, $1.5 million.
And then you mentioned about, so you're increasing, I saw you increasing the span. That's what you increase.
Yeah,
You said it's because of major flood events. What's your design?
the 100 and, I think the 100-year pass.
So you're
right
gonna-
over the top.
Okay.
And 500, I believe, may over the top, the 100-year pass.
Do you have any idea how much flow that is?
CFS, off the top of my head, I don't recall.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's another word for it. Just curious.
Yeah,
Try to get a magnitude for the manager.
Here.
I can let you know.
That'd be great. You
Yeah.
just like manager work. You got some other township.
They're going from 33 feet to 62 foot opening
To accommodate 100%. You're talking $1.5 million.
Yeah,
Not expensive. 1.75 to.
yeah, like I said, we're preliminary, so I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Sorry, I have a follow-up question to that.
Mhm.
Are you changing the elevation of the road? Is it going to stay the same height? as
Elevation
right
will
now?
be the same.
So
So
it's
the
okay.
alignment will be pretty much exactly the same.
Okay. Yeah. So I know that there was one road that was close to the 313, one driveway. So with the concrete block and then brush steel guardrail on top, how is that going to be beside for the people coming in and out of that road? It's now going to be a 2-lane bridge.
The driveway, are you talking about the driveway
Closest to 313.
closer to 3 feet? So it would be on this side. I know you can't see it here.
Yeah, I looked at the thing on my computer today, so I was just going by memory.
As far as sight distance is concerned?
Yeah, we've just had one where we had to take off the top brushed metal because the road, the people coming out of the parking lot that's close to the road can't see over it to see down the road, so they had to get rid of the brush too. That's what's.
Right. I mean, I don't think it'll be an issue, and I can't even see the driveway on this plan. I know it's probably a little bit further down, but.
Yeah, okay.
But that's, we can take a look at that. I don't think it'll be an issue.
Are there any other questions? Is there any other public question?
Does anybody know what the weight limit is on the smaller bridge to proceed this?
Or, you know, come here.
Because right now, trash trucks that weigh a whole lot more than 7 tons use both bridges. And if you're going to put in $1 million bridge, leave the old bridge where it's still a 7-ton limit, the trash trucks, some of them back up King Road because they get to the bridge, they see the sign, and then they back all the way up King Road. So it seems almost useless to put a bridge in if the old bridge is going to have its same 7-ton capacity.
It's not our bridge, it's the county's.
Yeah, it's
bridge.
I understand
It's
that.
not-
Yeah.
I understand that. But somebody at the
Yeah.
township should know what the weight limit is on the township owned bridge.
Is the other bridge a township owned bridge?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, yeah. We know it in-house, we just don't have that information for you here right now.
Right.
Give your name and contact information, we can definitely get back to you.
Okay, should I give it to you publicly?
Okay, let's do it soon, okay.
Okay, Jeffrey Berman, Berman. You want to email me or you want to,
That would be great.
Jeffrey S. Berman at Verizon.net. That's S as in Sam, Berman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I guess they'd have to take down a whole bunch of trees.
Is this your property?
Yes.
There are a few trees, I think, for construction access that might have to come out, but.
I know there's a big old sycamore and a big old poplar. Really old.
We'll do everything we can to minimize impacts.
If you can provide that comment. You know, we look at it from an environmental standpoint, from, we have to prepare a NEPA document. It'll be on the public record that you're concerned about that, and the engineers have to look to see if they can You can say that.
Okay, and they're aware that there's migratory fish that come up out of this.
Yep, that's part of our analysis. I think you said there's ability to provide comment, through the townships. Website, right?
I'll have any information you give us will be on the Public Works current project page. Anyone is welcome to email me, Mike Walsh, assistant manager, and I can make sure those comments are passed on. We will also be compiling from the staff level comments on what they've submitted to us about detours and things like that from the police, Public Works, just our, inner workings, knowledge of the area to make sure we provide that feedback about, I know, of course, director's already made a comment on the detour. So making sure we get that over to you. In the next couple of weeks.
And if there are specific requirements that you have, that you're looking for X amount of time that the plans were posted publicly, if you could provide that to us, we can facilitate that, put that out on our social media, and get those, and compile those comments and forward them to you.
Which I can comment on. I'm Kevin Spencer with the Bucks County. One of these we have been doing on many of our bridge projects is where we've had to take trees down. We actually will bring back and plant some similar native species. So that's something we'll certainly consider with this project as well.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? There's no other questions from the board. Thank you very much for your presentation this evening.
Thank you.
Give you some. Yeah, I do. That would be great. Thank you. Next item on our agenda this evening is the 2022 preliminary budget. I will turn the floor over to Matt West. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. Very pleased.
It's gonna get exciting.
Nothing against you, man. Yeah. Other things to do.
Do you need those lights?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's right, the new projector.
Yeah, so 2 weeks has been a long time. I'm happy to report that we invested in an HD projector. Soon as it warms up.
That isn't working.
Pneumatic, so. Yeah, 1 second. If you want to see it, I think you're going to have to go the opposite side. Oh,
There we go.
check it out. You can actually read the text.
It is bright.
Isn't that nice? This is essentially the same, almost the same presentation that I made 2 weeks ago. I did add a couple of slides. This presentation should only take about an hour and 15 minutes. So hopefully, I'm kidding. It's an hour and 10. I whittled it down. So we are here. This is a business meeting. After I present the presentation this evening, there's a motion on the agenda for the board to authorize the advertisement of the preliminary budget. This is the first step in finalizing the budget for 2022. Once the board authorizes that, it'll then become a public document. So, as we discussed 2 weeks ago, continued fiscal responsibility. The second bullet point is the most interesting one that everybody flips to. No tax increase. No real estate taxes, no changes to our earned income tax or local service tax. One thing I would like to highlight between 2021 and 2022 is that this budget, this proposed budget, is using $25,000 less cash reserves than was used in 2021. That is a something that I want the board to continue to consider moving forward, to watch how much we are using of our cash reserves to balance our budget. We were thankful to have very, very, very favorable health insurance costs this year. That enabled us to really develop a budget that was less painful than anticipated. I put that as a bullet point because moving forward, and I said this 2 weeks ago, my gut is telling me it's going to be a one-off. I don't believe that our healthcare costs will continue to go down. We actually had a rate decrease. Don't get used to that. I believe it was a function of decreased health usage due to the pandemic in 2020. So those rates are then based upon previous year's usage. So I don't want us to get to fall in love with continued favorable health insurance costs. Thankfully, we are benefiting from that this year. This budget maintains the current levels of service, similar to 2021, with a couple of improvements. And as we discussed 2 weeks ago, it includes some foundational projects for future operations. Remember this graphic from 2 weeks ago? I'm still in my Tetris. I'm always in my Tetris. Can't get enough of Tetris. I wanted to develop some sort of graphic that shows where most of our revenue sources come from. Now look, we're only looking at general fund and parks and rec fund. Why these two funds? These are our two main operating funds. We have a total of 7 funds, capital F, but 2 of which are acting as our operating funds. General fund, that's where most of our revenues and expenses come in and out of. These are our day-to-day activities. And then our Parks and Rec fund pays for Parks and Rec employees, parks maintenance, etc. If you look at the general fund, 54% of the general fund is funded by earned income tax, followed not even closely by real estate taxes. And then for 2022, we've got a smaller chunk of real estate transfer tax. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the real estate market these days. It's red hot. So we are projecting an uptick in real estate transfer tax revenue because of that. So people are selling their homes. Every time a home sells within the township, we get a percentage of that as part of our revenue. All of this leftover material, these are all of the other funding sources. Nothing significant enough to discuss during the presentation. Just a lot of smaller revenue sources that equal the entire revenue for the general fund. Now, if you look at the general fund versus the Parks and Rec fund, real estate taxes are about 56% of the Parks and Rec fund. And for 2022, grants. We're fortunate enough to have be a recipient of significant grant money for the Shanley Greenway Trail, and that's what is skewing our revenue sources for 2022. Moving forward, I expect that the grants chunk here will be greatly reduced. And then this other little block, interfund transfers. These are transfers from other funds, general fund, or the land preservation fund to the Parks and Rec fund. The land preservation fund allows for 25% of the total funds to be transferred or be used for maintenance and operations of open spaces. That was what was done in 2021 and continues to be the case for 2022. One of my favorite graphics, if we talk about real estate taxes, oftentimes I hear, it doesn't matter what municipality you live in, my real estate taxes, I don't raise my taxes, oh my goodness, we pay a lot of money. Oftentimes it's conflated with what the school board takes. Municipalities hardly get any money from real estate taxes. And what this graphic is showing is the average dollar spent on the New Britain Township real estate tax. New Britain Township gets 8 cents of every dollar. 8 cents of every tax dollar. 8 cents. 77 cents goes to the school district. School district gets the lion's share of real estate tax distribution. So if you look at it another way, the average tax bill for 2022 for a New Britain Township resident is $6,517. Almost $5,000 of that goes to the school district. Of that $6,500, New Britain Township gets $518. Think about all of the services that New Britain Township residents receive for $518 per year. That's a pretty good deal. I aim to continue to have that a good deal moving forward. So another way to show it, if we look at that sliver of a dollar plus our earned income tax, all of the other sources equals the total revenue for New Britain Township. Earned income tax is maxed out. There's no ability for the township to change the real estate, the earned income tax rate. It's maxed out at 1%. Back when it was first instituted, it was 1% for each municipality. And then soon thereafter, the school district said, hey, we think we should have a part of that too. And the state said, yeah, okay, you can get half. So of that 1% that we collect for earned income tax, the school district takes 50% as well. In New Britain Township, we have an additional 0.125% that is strictly allocated to open space land acquisition. We have a dedicated fund, capital F, for open space land acquisition. It's funded by mostly earned income tax. For the 2022 budget, we do not have any real estate millage associated with that fund. So if we then look at both the general fund and the Parks and Rec fund, the two major operating funds, most of the expenses can be categorized into three buckets. First one, 68% of our total expenses are people. We are in the people business. It takes people to run a municipality. These are all of the employees, from salaries to insurance to training to retirement, overtime wages, people. 68% operating fund expenses are with people. Coming in at a distant second at 13% are investments. For 2022, we're looking at an increased investment in road paving, a planning document for the North Branch Park grounds facility and grounds assessment. My favorite, number 3, a new website. Can't come soon enough. Significant investment in Greenway Trails, the Shanley Greenway Trail, making that connection over by the Coleman property, off of over by
State.
Thank you. State. Dugout roofs and playset. We have a motion on the agenda this evening for a playset. If you've been noticing the past several weeks, the playset on the lower part of North Branch Park has been removed. It got to be too much of a liability, so our great public works department spent a couple of days and removed the liability. We have in front of the board tonight for your approval is to use 2021 budgeted money to pay for the purchase of the replacement playset. And then in 2022, we want to continue that and pay for the installation of it. We are looking forward to that, and we're looking forward to having that installed spring 2022. And then a further distant third, 9% of total expenses, there are all of the routine costs. These are the things that are required to keep the municipality functioning. Talking about parks and open space maintenance, roads, storm sewers, township property, the lights, the electric, gas, all of those things. The 2022 budget has some significant proposed capital investments. One of which is the 2022 Police Department patrol vehicle upfit. You remember a couple of weeks ago, the board authorized the purchase of a 2022 hybrid police SUV. The budget for 2021 included the purchase of that vehicle but was underfunded we weren't able to actually upfit it into all of the things required for a police vehicle. So the 2022 budget has money included to fully upfit that vehicle. It's working in our favor because if you've been watching, tried to purchase a vehicle recently, you'll see there it's taking quite a long time to get a vehicle. We won't even be able to get the vehicle until early 2022. So we purchased it, we put a purchase order in for it. We used 2021 funds to fund the purchase of that vehicle. And then once we get the vehicle in-house, we will then update. Increased funds for paving. This preliminary budget has $100,000 of general fund money included to supplement the typical annual paving funds that are generated from the liquid fuels fund. One of the, choose my words carefully, more efficient vehicles means people are buying less fuel. If people buy less fuel, people are paying less tax. Liquid fuels tax, which municipalities receive based upon that. Every time you buy a gallon of gas, you pay a percentage of that gallon in the tax that goes to the state. They divvy it up across the state based upon how many miles and what types of roads you have. If people are buying less fuel, the total bucket of money for the state is beginning to diminish. Therefore, year over year, the township continues to get less and less liquid fuels funds. The township has a long-standing tradition of using liquid fuels funds to solely fund road paving, our annual road paving. If we continue to get less funds, we can pave less roads. Here's a question. The costs to pave roads, are they too going down? Yeah, right? 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 No, those costs continue to go up. So our funding is going down, costs continue to go up. Therefore, we're recommending an additional $100,000 in funds to supplement the road paving plan for funded through the liquid fuels funds. Also included in the budget is funds for needed repairs. It's a picture of Walters Road culvert. It's still closed today. The township engineer and I have been discussing possible solutions to this. You will also see in motion this evening on your agenda some administrative action for FEMA funding. We're in the process of securing. Hopefully that we can fix this sooner rather than later. Public Works skid steer and some other strategic plans are also included in the budget. This is a new slide from 2 weeks ago. I wanted to highlight a few of our foundational projects, I'm calling them. First thing I'm going to talk about is the website. Can't get enough about talking about the new website. I'm ready for it. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I'm ready for it. The new township website is going to be designed in such a way where it will be a content management system. Websites, the function of websites has changed over time. It's not websites used to be a place to go and look at pictures and learn about a municipality or learn about a business. That's not why people are going to websites anymore. People typically go to websites now to get information. If we can design a website that is a content management system, it will then support staff operations as well as support board initiatives and how we communicate with the public. One thing I failed to discuss 2 weeks ago was an investment in an all-electronic payroll system. This budget includes that. Right now, payroll is done in paper, by hand. That's it. Timesheets, paper, by hand. Mike, how much time do you spend all day today, right? It is inefficient. And so this is a minor investment in something that will pay dividends. Right? It will enable management, department heads to manage their staff more effectively. It will allow the staff to have access to the PTO balances directly. It's a better system. It's a minimum investment that will pay long-term dividends. Also included is a facility and grounds assessment from North Branch Park, our showcase park. It's gotten to that point where many of the things have reached their useful life. Playground equipment, for example. And so, instead of just throwing money at what we perceive as the next thing that needs to be replaced, I would like to invest small amount of money to identify all of the facility and grounds assessment, where things are, where they stand, how much money it would cost to improve, replace, something that might look like it needs to be replaced, might not be a high priority when compared to other things. And this would be the first of a couple of plans that will then link into future budgets. It's not just a one and done. That plan then will enable us to budget more effectively for the capital improvement plan that I'm hoping to kick off shortly in 2022. This will play an integral role in that capital improvement plan. Help us identify those real things that need to be invested in. Additionally, a pavement condition assessment will enable us to develop a pavement improvement plan, also linking into that capital improvement plan. That will then pay dividends if we can identify all of those roads that need to be paved and that timing of. We can then communicate that to the residents so there's an expectation of when people's road will be paved. Updated tech for Board of Supervisors meetings, talking about how we can digitize this process more effectively. How does the board interact with the meeting information? How do we interact with the residents? How do we interact with the public? We're not going to be able to invest in everything that we need to make it happen, but we're going to take it small bites. How can we do things efficiently and more effectively? Last thing I want to talk about is a significant project in the Chamonix Greenway Trail. We've been doing some engineering level work this year. In 2022, we're hoping to construct in 2023. Moving on. Zip through the next couple slides. Debt service. Everybody seems to space out on these slides. As if the previous slides weren't boring enough. Now we're really wading into the boring stuff. Debt service. This is where we are with debt service. We are in a really good financial position as it relates to debt. And it's something that I'm looking to continue into the future. We have an LED streetlight lease debt that matures in a couple of years. And the next year, we have another public works building. Our longest debt is maturing in 2032. Our total principal payment of the 413 is $352,900 and $60,000 in interest. From an accounting standpoint, it's good to identify anytime you transfer funds, small f, to funds, big F's, capital F. It's called an interfund transfer. The budget has 114.5 listed to be transferred from the land preservation fund to be transferred to the park and rec fund. This is for maintenance and development of parks and open space, as I said previously. Act 115 of 2013 states that you can allocate up to 25% of your annual collection revenues towards maintenance and development of parks and open space, for open spaces that were purchased through this fund. The other one is for streetlight funds. This is having to do with the LED streetlight replacement project that was undertaken several years ago. This is the payment of that loan, coming from the streetlight fund to the streetlight debt service. Land preservation. One thing that is a long-standing tradition in this township is land preservation. 1,000+ acres preserved by the township. Added 2,500+ acres of total conserved. 200+ open space plan priority land preservation sites. In 2022, it's projected that the EIT will generate $600,000 for land preservation. Can't, even with HD, it's difficult to read this. I wanted it on there as a placeholder for those playing at home, for those looking at this digitally later. These are hyperlinks to look at both the 2000 open space plan and the 2008 supplement, identifying the specific parcels that are prioritized for land preservation. Future considerations. As a member of GFOA, Government Finance Officers Association, continuing to recommend minimum cash balances for all operating funds. So the next big heavy lift that I'm hoping to kick off in early 2022, capital improvement plan, along with the capital planning committee. This is an update. I also put in there an open space plan update. Last time one that was done was in 2008. We might want to consider investing in an update to the open space plan. We have a significant amount of funds in that fund. It might be worthwhile to reinvest in an update to that plan. And then to continue to develop sustainable budgets that reduces dependency on cash reserves. You remember from 2 weeks ago, this is just a very rudimentary graph showing if we continue down the path of using cash reserves versus here is the budgeted revenues. Here are the cash reserves used, and here is the cash reserve. The gray line is the cash reserves. The big box here labeled as the unknown. This is the future. If I knew what was happening in the future, I wouldn't be here today. I'd be banking money. But here I am. We're making our best guess. What I can see at this point is that I'm not comfortable with the trend, that the township has been using more cash reserves year over year. My intention is to change that trajectory, to begin to use less cash reserves year over year. It's complicated. There's a lot of factors that will define whether or not that point here, when our cash reserves hit zero or not. This is a very overly simplified explanation of something that I'm seeing trending from a budgetary standpoint. If we continue the trend of using $25,000 less annually in our cash reserves, which the 2022 budget is using $25,000 less than the 2021 budget, the cash reserves could potentially hit zero in mid-2023. Again, overly simplified. There are a lot more factors that could actually move this out, but it's something that I'm seeing if I'm looking at the trend. I want to reverse this trend. I'm on a downward trend of cash reserves, and I'm looking to make it level out. Next couple slides are just some what-if scenarios. Okay, if we reduce the cash reserve usage by 150,000 annually after this year, you can see the cash reserves gets close to zero, but then starts to rebound. And then if we look at 200,000, you can see that gap widens, and we're then on a trend that's going higher. Just on there, I just wanted to add those 3 slides, put it out there to, to bring the board's attention to a trend that I'm seeing that I'm hoping to continue to work with the board to reverse moving forward. So, summary, earned income tax, check it out, both columns are identical, 2021, 2022, no changes in any of the taxes. Tax rates stay the same at EIT. Total millage stays the same across all funds for real estate tax. In the proposed budgets, all major funds, here are all funds. Right. Here's the reserves used for all balance And if you break it out into general fund, we're using $775,000 of reserves. Last year we used 800,000. Proposed balance is just over 4,000 at the end. Next steps, here we are, presentation. Next one is to adopt the preliminary budget. Have a motion to authorize me to advertise it. Then the preliminary budget will be available for public inspection. Final budget presentation, if anything major changes between now and 2 weeks from now. Final budget presentation at the December business meeting with adoption. Any questions?
Yes. I know that we look at a budget, we make a budget in December. Have we ever done a backward looking to say, has the budget that we have just left worked well, and why are we using so much of our cash reserve? Have we ever looked at comparing, has the budget we made worked, and if not, what do we need to change?
That's a fair question. Now, are you asking, am I interpreting it that you're looking at, let's use 2021, the budget that we created for 2021, did that work? Is that your question?
Yes,
And if so, how is that then going to feed into 2022?
yes,
The answer is yes. You're always looking at how we're tracking in the current budget. If you look at the budget document that is in front of you, the preliminary budget, you're going to look at 2021, 2022, the right-hand column. We're always looking at that. John Bates, our finance director, and I are always looking at revenue and expenses per line item every month. It's an ongoing thing. You're always looking at that. And so our budget process is always looking at what we did in 2021 or whatever the previous year was, looking at where we're tracking. Was that a good number? Is it off? If it's off, why is it off? Which then feeds into the next year's budget. That's my process. That's how the 2022 budget was developed. Always looking at that, the current year's budget and seeing how we're tracking.
have you looked at, did we actually spend what we planned to spend
Yes,
on certain things?
yes.
Okay, so then have we looked at why do we need to keep using so much of our cash reserves to balance that budget? Because to me as a family, I would be saying, I'm having to dip into my savings every year to balance my budget. That means that my budget is not a fair budget. I can't continue to live like that.
Part of the problem is the fact that you have to have a carryover balance because we don't receive a monthly income every month. We have to carry ourselves through January, February, March. So what's our current monthly expenditures?
1 million.
Monthly expenditures?
No. We need 1.2 million, it's about 650,000.
So we need 650,000 covers through the first 3 months.
Yes.
So that's part of your reason for why you have to start.
No, that's completely different. Having your cash flow that sits in your account is something that would help absorb the differences between month-to-month expenses. Having to say, I have to have $800,000 in my account at the beginning of the year so that I can make all my payments by the end of the year. A budget should be, I start with 0 and I end with 0 at the end. To me, that means I've only spent what I have available. If I have to use my savings to make sure I end up with 0 at the end, means that I am not living within my budget.
It's simple. We spend more than we take in an income.
So we're using our savings. We need to change that.
That's what the graph is showing.
Trajectory.
That if we continue to do that by 2023, there's going to have to be a rather large tax increase.
You know, it's.
Well, where did the cash reserves you're using come from? The years that we made sure we had money left over at the end of the year. This is always our plan.
Yes.
Well, it also is that were the money we saved by refinancing last year. Where did that go?
Yes, it all goes into the cash reserve.
money we get from developers for going sidewalk goes into the general, and that's what we're using to balance the budget.
No, whatever is used for road, that money is in a separate account. Doesn't have anything to do with the general. fund. That's up in the reserve account.
There are a couple of different accounts. There is a capital fund, capital improvement. There's 3 different ones that spread across. It's not, it doesn't just go into the general. There are minimum balances that are required, they're recommended. Because we don't generate income. We get our revenue from taxes. Those taxes aren't collected until spring. There's a good 2 to 3 months where we don't get any revenues coming in. So that's why it's important for us to, I'm a fan of having 3 months worth of revenues in the bank, in cash, just to be safe.
Which is not counted towards our budget, correct? That's our savings, that's our float.
It's
If I'm
not,
trying to understand that, let's think, you want that 1.5 million at the beginning of the year, you want that 1.5 still sitting at the end of the year.
you always want minimum, that's your minimum balance at any time.
But saying that we're using $800,000 of that to balance our budget, means we're using that float, that savings.
So we have been fortunate enough to have strong cash reserves, which has enabled us to use cash reserves. We're not at a point where it's like, oh my God, we don't have all.
No.
Right? We're at that point where we need to start saying, hey, we should be using less cash reserves, because that's not sound policy to start using all this cash reserves.
Because it has been increasing over the last 4 or 5 years. We have increased that. So that is the trend. And this is just showing us that we need to change that trend.
And that's not going to be changed overnight. It's not going to be changed in 1 year. It is a long-term view. And it's different decision making. I'm confident that this board will be able to do it. Something that I wanted to bring to your attention. I am not, it's not red alert. Oh my God, no. It's a, hey, here's a trend that I'm seeing. We might better pay attention to this to correct it in the future.
And it might be the tax increase.
It could. It's good. I want to continue those conversations. My intention is to have those conversations all year. I don't want it to just be at budget time. Because this is the single most important document in municipal government, the budget. It needs to be in the forefront of the board's minds, staff's minds. Because this is our guiding light. This is our guiding policy. This is it. We need to make sure that we keep our eye on it and continue to make those good decisions.
Thank you, Matt. I think, one thing everybody needs to keep in perspective, especially this year, is that we have experienced a significant transition in how things have been done here in the township this last year. It's been a lot of evaluation, a lot of studying, a lot of changing of frames of mind, as it were, especially from an administrative standpoint. So, as Matt says, conversations definitely need to be had over the next year. And I think that the fact that, Matt has been evaluating all of this and is trying to show us paths through these assessments and some of how the departments are being given more responsibility and how to figure out how to properly spend the money that they're allocated, shows that everyone's aware that we need to be very cognizant of where the township's finances are. So I think that in the upcoming year, we'll all have plenty of opportunities to have more conversations about it.
That's conversation and education go a long way to making great decisions.
Any other questions? Thank you.
So just to clarify, you showed on your sheet there that we are only, in our packet, you're showing just the motion to authorize, but you're also showing that we need to adopt preliminary. So Which is it?
Authorized to advertise.
Okay.
So that's everyone.
Yeah, just wanted to, thank
You're
you.
just authorizing to advertise.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so next item on the agenda is public comment. This section of the agenda is for public comment on any item that is not an action item. If you have something at this time, please feel free to have comment. When we get to an action item later on, if we do have comment, there will be a section for that. So at this time, is there any public comment?
Yes.
Oh, very cool. You can go ahead and step up and give us your name and address, please.
I am Ashley Kishnik. I'm on 59 Departmental Road.
Thank you very
And
much.
I am here to address the problem of the bridge on Butler Avenue. So it was replaced, it was very old, and was replaced 2 years ago.
Do we stand
You
for
could,
you?
you could get a little closer and show us your exhibit there.
We used to have a stand in the room. I don't know what.
You can stand it up on the table.
Yeah.
Stand it on the table.
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
And stand next to it.
That's all right. There you go.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
So, so the bridge was replaced 2 years ago, and it had no sidewalks. So when it was replaced, me and my family were like, because we live over here, and our grandparents live over here, we were excited that we could get from here to here, because that. But when we replaced it, they did not add a sidewalk or pedestrian bridge to it. So when they did that, we thought there's no way to get across for bikes and pedestrians. This is the little, it's about 3/4 of a meter long from there to the road. So I am proposing that you should maybe have someone fundraise to get or use money to get a pedestrian bridge there, because there are people who are at Butler at my school who have houses over here also, and they have to go by car or bus, and they can't walk home. So if we did this, then you would be able to get across. And people at St. Jude could get over here.
So we don't have any safe pedestrian walkway on 202 to get from Skyline or Brittany.
Yes, you could not go from Cedarville and up to 202 and get Skyline from that road. But there are sidewalks across here and here for a while, going that way and that way. But right here, like, it stops the connection. So this would connect our community together, which would be helpful.
And it made those diagrams really long. And I mean, just, you're in the street because there's contractors, so
Yes.
yeah, really.
And just, I think everybody knows, so the state, that's a state bridge, so that's not a township. It's a state highway.
Yeah.
State, not this township. I believe there was discussion exactly what you're saying.
I did tell them that.
I feel like Greg knows more than me, because I don't have kids to do it. But there was discussion, at minimum, you had a good idea about a actual pedestrian bridge, I think, was the best PennDOT in the state will not pay for the widening. And we have issues and property owners' rights, because obviously that's not your property, that's not our property. So some property owners didn't want to give up their land or wide, but I think there was discussion about a pedestrian bridge to still get people.
Yes.
And that was very resistant. They had it all figured out before they came to us, and they didn't really want to listen to anything we had to offer, unfortunately.
I will agree that.
But it is a great
It's
idea.
a great idea, we've all discussed, but unfortunately, we don't own the road or the bridge, so we cannot install that.
Right.
Are you thinking that maybe there should be a bridge installed or just a pedestrian across, not on the road, not on the bridge of PennDOT built, but on the sides, either of those property owners? Maybe you could talk to them.
Yes, I think a pedestrian bridge would be the best idea, because widening that bridge would cost.
Yeah, I can tell you that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, they're not gonna
PennDOT's not
replace
gonna
the
replace that
bridge.
bridge again. But just like someone, I think it was an Eagle Scout project that built the bridge from North Branch Park over to Lindenfield Parkway.
Yes.
Shop on her. They did that?
I don't want to get too long.
Okay.
I don't mean to get too wonky on you, Asher. I'm going to ask Craig a question. In terms of it being a state highway, is there a safe distance requirement for pedestrian bridge behind the guide rail where you're not dealing with a car coming down the hill?
I know there is, it is, in fact, I'm trying to remember it, and you maybe will help me out, but I think I've walked, there's a path from St. Jude's, goes to the creek, that goes up in St. Jude. So we're trying to figure out how to maybe connect that, but the school's on one side, St. Jude's on this side, sidewalks, that you said is on the skyline side. I don't think there's any connection sidewalk.
No, there's no on
Tony,
Britain
these
farm
are-
side, and Britain, to have kids walk across in front of Tony D's and scare me. Cars coming
That's
out
why I
there.
mentioned,
So there's no
It's hard to take-
sidewalk. on
nobody
the
wants to
side.
give up their land for the pedestrian bridge like you mentioned. So I'd say my idea, when I was with staff members, they were about trying to get St. Jude's and other kids to get through there.
Well,
And that would not,
it's-
they would not widen it, and pretty much said here it is.
Isn't there a crossing guard sitting at Tony D's in the morning?
Yes.
So that means there's a cross. We own the land that is on the corner of Brittany and Butler Avenue, opposite Tony D's. If we are the landowner and we'd be connecting over that,
Next-
opposite the CVS,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but,
right, yeah.
but then
no,
on
on the same side as Tony D's.
the other side of it,
It's Tony D.
yeah, that's a wide driveway, that would scare me to have kids walk across.
But there's already a crosswalk.
And those, the other thing is,
There's
they
no
own it,
problem.
and then they have it right away, or back.
There's a path that comes.
It
from
comes
one
into
side
his,
of
it
the
comes
drive.
into his parking lot, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's just, you know, it's sad because so many of the area was built up before they really thought about people walking from one place to another. Yes. But, you know, I'm very proud of you. You sat there so nicely reading your book and listening to boring stuff. And then getting up and telling us.
Hey, you got it, Mary.
Yes, you know, you might have a future to be up here someday.
Thank you for coming out tonight, Asher.
We're not
Thank you.
playing your side. We'll look into some of those
Yes.
things and then see where we can go.
Yeah, definitely, Asher. Thank you very much for bringing this to our attention.
We communicate with them?
Yes. Take care of that, Michael.
He wants to know that he lives in Chalfont, but his grandparents live in the township.
Yeah, no, I really do. When he gave us his address. I
We're
knew-
4 houses into the Chalfont.
Yeah. But that's fine, that's fine. And when you get big enough, see, I'm happy because my great grandkids live within walking distance of me. It's nice.
Yeah.
We're gonna give Michael a chance to come back and then we'll get restarted.
Asher, whereabouts do your parents live on Cedar Hill? Do they live in one of the developments?
Can you say that again?
Where do they live on Cedar Hill Drive or Road? Where do your grandparents live?
Oh, they live in Colby Drive, in that neighborhood,
Oh,
that's, to the side of Cedar Hill, right?
I was gonna say, do you know about connecting paths?
Yes, he uses that.
A lot.
But he just thought it was a nice improvement for the whole community.
yeah.
Right,
I know.
yeah.
Especially with all the work that they put on all those sidewalks, they go all the way from Camden, almost the county line. It's a shame that no matter what we do, it chokes.
I think
right
we should
through.
apply.
Yeah, he knows that we can't do it, he just was hoping for it.
Yep.
Thank
No,
you.
no, we'll take, no, we're serious. We will take a look and know what our options are. So, thank you, Ash.
Probably almost your bedtime.
Yeah, we might.
Yeah. So, thank you very much.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming out.
Don't forget your book. Your book.
Oh, yes.
Have a good evening. That's awesome.
It is, it really is.
All right, I'm not gonna wait for Craig. Do we have any other public comment online there? Michael?
We do not.
Okay, very good. All right, at this time, we're gonna move on to our action items. Our first action item of this evening is I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes of our October 18th, 2021 business meeting and our November 1st, 2021 work session meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
You guys want to fight over?
You can make it up.
They can fight, but I already gave it to them.
Oh, okay. So we have a first and a second. Are there any amendments, changes, or questions about the minutes? Since none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next item on the agenda, or action item on the agenda is a motion to approve the schedule of bills dated October 19th, 20th, November 1st, November 1st, November 4th, 10th, 10th again, in the amount of $630,761.22. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions, comments, or whatnot with the motion? No, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. I have to figure out how to say that better. Okay, next on the agenda is the board. I'm looking for a motion to approve all of the consent agenda items dated November 15th, 2021.
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second? All right, so now, are there any questions or comments about any items on the consent agenda?
I just have a question about the one, number 4, Holly Properties. Is that the Casa?
Tree care
Yes.
service.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so what is the major issue? Are they still?
They're
working on
building,
development?
they're building a full building, so the land development, so they're finally moving forward with the actual land development. These are documents all associated with that.
And let the board know that we have the record plan in the back.
Okay, very good. So are there any other questions or comments on the consent agenda? Since I'm none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Okay, next item on the agenda is the biggie. Motion to authorize the advertising of the 2022 preliminary budget. And I have a motion. Is there a second?
One second.
First and a second. Are there any other comments or questions in relation to the budget? Sensing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Okay, next action item is the resolution 2021-29, reallocation of 2021 police department funds in materials and supplies and computers to equipment purchases and uniform vests. Take a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Are there any comments or questions in regards to the motion? Sensing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carried.
The motion should say traffic counters on materials.
Oh, okay. How do you want, where were we at?
I believe the resolution itself said correct.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Motion sheet was incorrect, but the resolution is correct.
So would we,
I think
We're good, Mr. Mayor. It's for the attachment. The attachment has the traffic.
oh, okay. Okay.
But I'm not here, that's say otherwise.
No, I'm fine. Okay. Next motion on the agenda is I'm looking for a motion to authorize the purchase of a model all-terrain power bike for the attachments.
So moved.
The motion is there a second and a second. Any comments or questions?
Just wanted to know when we should be expecting a new bike.
By the end of the year.
Christmas.
Very cool. Just the right time you want to get on a bike.
Stay up all night, put it together.
It'll be a movie factory.
There you go. All right, so I have a first and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next motion on the agenda is asking the board to approve a contract and the expenditures associated for the Cody Records Management System for the attachments.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any comments or questions?
Hey, Chief, so you've been talking to their reps, I assume, right? You fully understand what you're getting into. I'm assuming, I looked at the contract. I'm assuming it's pretty standard. They're gonna have a lot of say over what type of equipment we're using and all like that. That's normal.
Yeah, it's a software that we're purchasing from them.
Right.
So that's basically the only thing.
But in the contract, they talk about, there can be another agreement, I think that's gonna come down the pipe, where we're gonna agree to make sure we supply a certain type of equipment, the platforms that their software is operating. They do have to say on that.
Yes.
So I just wanna make sure you're aware of that.
Yeah, we
Okay.
Okay, does anybody have any questions in regards to questions from the solicitor? All right, sensing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Next motion on the agenda is for the board to approve the purchase of a play structure for North Branch Park for the attachments. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, now, are there any comments or questions?
I have a question.
Go for it.
What is the ADA part of the swing set? Do you know? I was looking at the picture and I was trying to.
That's a good question, of which I don't have a good answer.
Then part two of my question is, I know you had discussed maybe not putting up the swing set at the same time. Could we get some other kinds of swing bases, maybe like a top swing or an ADA swing to go with the swings? Would that be possible? I know, I'm sure that would be more cost, but is that?
You mean like a baby swing, swing for a
Yeah.
baby, yeah.
Yeah, and if you get down to Lions Private Park, they don't really need two person like a mother. and
Oh, yeah,
a
seen this,
so
yep.
on it, yeah, one of those. would be nice.
I think we could probably make, those, from my experience, those are adjustments to the actual swing area, right? You've got the butchering, the technical speak here.
The actual chain and swing base.
Right. I
Yes.
don't see those as being cost prohibitive. I think we could probably make an adjustment and talk to the provider for that. Also, I'm curious to see how we can integrate the existing swing set, because the existing swing set seems to be in fair condition. So we might be able to adjust this to incorporate, maybe reduce this size, incorporate, take that money in the reduction, incorporate it into more ADA swing. If the board is okay with us moving forward with procuring that, so long as you authorize the expense for the swing set, I think we can.
It's a field modification, maybe we just changing the swing you're gonna run.
So long as it is within the budget. amount.
Is that, it is part of the thing now, isn't it? The swings set, swing part is part of this, quote.
Yes.
Peter, you started to make a comment?
Yeah, obviously, whatever changes we may have to be through the CoStar.
This is a CoStar's.
Yeah, so we need to make sure we stay within CoStar. And I'm assuming this provider is the one who's handling the installation also?
Yes.
So that's part of the CoStar.
That's correct.
All right. Are there any other comments, or questions? Michael, are there any comments, or questions online in regards to this?
I'm just short and sweet, there's no.
Oh.
I had one thought though, and this was always sparking me. You know, people want to put in memorials. Would it be you best to maybe have a memorial fund for something like this that then we could have a plaque for one?
That's a really good comment, and I believe the Parks and Rec Board is discussing the process for memorials. And that could actually come out of that discussion about having a fund. We want to standardize what's available, whether it's a tree, if it's a tree, what types of trees and locations, and plaques, or a memorial bench. So there's, the Park and Rec Board will be exploring those options right now. We're actually just talking to our Parks and Rec coordinator about that. And in the process of developing that criteria.
That's great.
Right? I mean, there might be a way to.
So Ellen, are you asking about memorial funds to replace it, place it, or to,
That maybe place sets could be part of a memorial.
Yeah.
You know,
Placements, pensions.
because if somebody, let's say somebody had a baby that was still being alive, and doing something to memorialize that child and the place that would be in their mind.
yeah, no,
Just with like trees, you know, go along with the trees and the benches. And
I think, the staff is always,
I don't think people know how expensive this place is. That's the thing.
staff is always open to working with residents for memorials. And where the process to standardize the memorial procedure came from is how we can communicate to residents, what options do you have? What, it helped us then manage where they go and how to do it.
You know, I mean, it would be good to have a procedure because like we had with the kind like Joey bench that they installed at West Branch. And we didn't really have a procedure in place, but we worked with them and came up with a location for it. And it worked out very well. So it's very good. Are there any other comments, or questions? So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carried. Next motion on the agenda. Adopt resolution 2021-28, FEMA DAP 1 for Tropical Storm Ida for the attachments. I have a motion. Is there a second? All right. Are there any comments or questions? Really? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carried. Okay, next motion on the agenda, adopt resolution 2021-30, police grievance for the attachments.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Are there any comments or questions? Everybody completely and fully understands the situation and we,
Yes.
all right, very good. All right, all those,
Should we want to have Peter explain what we're doing?
To be simple, we're just memorializing and writing the agreement that was already reached. It actually is already, I think, been effectuated. But in talking to Matt, I really felt we need something to memorialize it. Make sure, you know, in the future, people that they will put an act for it. And Matt can reach out to the PPA, make sure that they send us the appropriate written dropping of these two grievances. So we can just make sure everything is all wrapped up.
So we've had one outstanding grievance with the tobacco grievance, and we've had one grievance from last year with Kelly Time. Now we're both put together and settled.
So this is really just kind of memorial.
very good. All right, so my first and second, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Next motion on the agenda, the adoption of resolution 2021-31, sale of township property policy for the attachments. Do we want to do a little, I would say, Matt, if I would turn over to you just for a quick explanation of this resolution.
Have a second.
Well, no, we didn't talk about this at the last meeting, so,
Have a motion second. Talk about it.
okay, all right, so I'll take a motion
So moved.
and let's do a second.
I'll second.
Okay, go ahead, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this came about from discussions with Chief Clouser in how to put staff in an advantage point of being able to auction small goods, small township property. Chief was looking to
Right.
looking to declutter.
Kind
And
term.
And since, any sale of township property would require the authority and approval of the board, wanted to pass a resolution that is also allowed under second class township code to set a limit of $2,000 not to exceed. So anything that we put up on a public auction that is less than $2,000, final bid, publicly bid, we do not need for approval. Please help the staff to declutter and sell these things typically on municipal. auction site.
And if the item somehow is become a must-need item from another municipality, and it goes over $2,000, that
It then
It's
will
still
become, it will then become, it will be brought to the board. Anything
to
that exceeds $2,000 will then have to be brought to the board.
say, yes, we will sell it.
Is there any comments, or questions?
Okay, that's a good thing.
Very good. I have a motion in a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next motion on the agenda. The adoption of resolution 2021-32, New Britain Hatfield Township Intermunicipal Police Services Agreement for the attachments. I will take a motion this time.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, first and second, any comments, questions, or explanations?
Like, or get my email about it. Thank you. There's a typo on it.
Proposed.
There was, that first class township. Third whereas clause.
It also says in the first whereas clause.
Yeah, right, yeah. I think because we got given this by accident.
Yeah, I
We did that there first.
Yeah, so we just need to change.
Actually, in township of first.
Making it and putting it separate.
Yeah, that's fine. Although, just strike out the whole, on the first whereas. That 53 PS, just strike that all out, that's all from the first class.
Okay, so I need a motion to adopt this resolution as amended, if anyone is so inclined.
Been moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, so we have an amended motion in front of us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carried.
I need to bring this up, but also not only the whereas clause, but also in the entire agreement, we need to strike the first class.
We wanted to start over.
How about we'll rewrite them and then I'll get them signed.
Sounds
Very good.
fantastic. Very good. So that ends all of our action items for this evening's meeting. The next items on our agenda are the information items.
Chairman.
Can I ask you a question real quick, Matt, before you start? Are you going to bring up the green and yellow sheet as part of your, okay, so may I jump in for a second? So I just kind of want to make a statement, and that is that, we as a board decided to attempt a new procedure having daytime meetings as a work session for our first meeting every Monday of the month. And there's been significant public feedback that may not be the best for public consumption of the businesses dealt with here at the township. And as part of that feedback, I mentioned to Matt last week that maybe we might want to consider going back to our old style meetings. So that is why that is in front of you for our consideration. So kind of acknowledging a mistake.
Well, you know,
Valid, try,
Right.
it might work.
we tried it. We found out it was not what people in the township were used to. They're used to having, like that little boy coming in.
Right.
You know, they're used to having that kind of meeting where people are here, people hear things, they tell us how they feel, and not have to try to go back to something or something.
So then, thank you, Matt, for allowing me to make that statement.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Sorry, I will do a support of Greg for the concept of having a work session at the beginning of the meeting, at the beginning of the month. It may not have worked being at 10 a.m. or 9 a.m., but I think the concept of having a work session and then having a business session, I think has worked much, much better. I would say in support of the concept, maybe not the execution, but that's where we are. We can always learn and grow. The first one may not have worked out the way we wanted it to, but I do believe the work session and then the business meeting has been a great format. So I would say that it's support. of the new.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. So the reason why you're seeing this color-coded calendar in front of you is that is part of the annual passing of schedules and whatnot. The board will need to pass the proposed meeting schedule for 2022, so we can advertise that. As Greg alluded to, and I've discussed the timing of the first meeting of the month. And so this schedule that's in front of you is kind of a hybrid of old and new. This is the same schedule of old, with the exception that instead of having two business meetings, I kept the first meeting being a work session. So we're still going to keep that. I'm still recommending that we keep the work session, business meeting, work session, business meeting criteria. Moved all of the work sessions to 7 p.m. except, because this is what we've done in the past, one in March, one in May, and then September and October. Those ones are listed as 10 a.m. work session meetings. That was a request that I had received along the way. That was the schedule. That was the schedule that was replaced. The only difference is that I changed that first business meeting to say work session. So every month we'll have a work session, 4 of which are scheduled to be in the morning at 10 a.m. If the board so chooses to do that. I think it makes sense, especially in September and October when we talk about the budget. It makes sense to have a daytime meeting because it's nitty-gritty in the details. Might not be the best suited for a night meeting, but that's the board's decision. The board wants to go fully night meetings. It's up to you. It's your decision. So I don't need an answer tonight. This is for you to look over and get back to me your feedback on that, with hopes that we can solidify a meeting schedule by the December meeting cycle so we can adopt that.
The date for October, the first meeting will not be the 5th or the 3rd. The 5th is Wednesday.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Well done. You get the bonus points today. Hey. Good. All right. Yeah.
That's not 14 days.
And so you'll see also that we've had to move and manipulate many of the meetings because having a public meeting on Monday is a challenge because of federal holidays. And so that kind of screws up all of our meeting times, and I'm not a proponent of having a meeting the day after a holiday either. I like to have a day before a meeting. So I know there's a long-standing tradition of having Monday meetings, and if I would be interested in entertaining a different meeting day of the week as well.
Now you're getting radical.
I know. Mike and I were talking about, I don't know if I can bring that up. It's not like, just throwing it up. It's difficult to have a meeting on Monday from a staff standpoint. To prepare adequately, because it's booking it by weekends. It's very difficult from the staff, and it's great. Yes, it is.
Actually, when you have large projects, that means we got locked down on either Friday and you protect the weekend, and then Monday, which then some of us have other responsibilities, payroll or whatever, and then you gotta get ready that night, and if there's a lot of them, which usually is the case here, but a couple of times we had a bunch of them go, so I'm trying to, I'm just so used to it, we make that all.
With
then
that. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, be careful one night.
Well, I was gonna say,
Yeah, that, for me, yeah, I average 3 nights a week. So, it could be quite difficult to guys switch.
Okay.
But that's, in the end, it's up to you.
What day were you thinking of switching to?
Any day but Monday.
Yeah. Good Friday.
Or Friday.
I was gonna say,
There's no Friday.
I don't think that would go well.
I would be here.
Yeah.
Mondays are tough, Fridays. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Thank you.
I see you going to one meeting a month, planning commission. That probably is pretty representative of the fact that it's been pretty slow for planning commission.
Mike did a deep dive and looked at how many times planning commissions is met twice a month. In the past, how many years?
In the past 10 years, it has been 7 times. So that, the PC has met twice in the same month. Over 10 years.
Wow. Yeah, that feels about right.
So other than Park and Rec, which also meets on the third week, is there any other meeting that meets on the first week or the third week?
That's not true because the Veterans Committee has been moved as well. I'll point that out on this because we have the VFW post here on the third Wednesday of every month. And with them being here, it requires the staff member in the building, which is usually me. So I moved the Veterans Committee to go right before the VFW meeting. That way staff is only here 1 night a week as opposed to me being here 2 nights. That way, be able to back them back to back. And that would make that meeting and 6 meetings here. Typically, I get breaks between the events, so they're scheduled heading up into events, bingo and all that.
And it looks like zoning hearing board is also on
I think they're the third Thursday.
so you don't have to move Park and Rec. So,
We'll go to the second. I mean, now I'm getting crazy.
Well, our meetings used to be the second and fourth Mondays. Then
The CHG is usually the third Thursday.
And you changed that.
Thursdays and
Second and fourth.
first and third,
Be in front of, no.
the solicitor at the time wanted it, and I was happy because that meant I could join the book, which met on the second Monday. But what about me?
When do we have to have this decision made before we can advertise the meeting schedule?
December.
December business meeting?
I did notice in September, you have our meeting on a Friday or a Saturday.
Oh, yes.
Which one?
So if the 7th is Labor Day, the 12th is definitely not the following Monday. That would be
That's
Saturday.
And then the second.
Oh, wait, you have the Labor Day is the 7th?
Yeah.
No. Oh, okay, all right. Well, then Labor Day is the 5th, so then that doesn't mean the 12th on Monday. Okay. Food for thought.
Is there any- I'll coordinate with each of you. On your thoughts.
There's a serious algorithm we're gonna have to run if you move our meetings to a different night and then have to, because you always want to make sure you have a planning commission meeting falling within a certain time of a board of supervisors meeting in the event that there's an applicant that comes in and they need their.
Board of Supervisors take precedence. So we want to hear what the board is like going forward, so then I can then backfill all of the other meetings to make sure. it makes it. I would be tickled to not have a Monday meeting.
Tuesday would be. Yeah. That should be the.
Tuesdays, what is it about?
Tuesday is like the worst day for me. So,
That's what's gonna be.
yeah.
Second, fourth Thursday. And
Changes.
Nod, yes, no.
Second Thursday would be tough for me, but I can make it.
You babysit.
Mike's very good at various jobs, I'm sure.
So we're going to.
What party am I planning now?
We're gonna hypothetically throw out there a second and fourth Thursday for everybody to digest. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we will make one that has that, and we will make one that is the current.
Okay,
Okay, very good, thank you.
very good.
I just wanted to take a moment.
Wait, hold on.
Man,
Zoning here,
we're going to have to,
move them, okay,
so Board of Supervisors,
yeah, okay, okay.
and we'll
Yes.
reschedule.
They can always take Mondays.
Third.
They're the third Thursday.
Oh,
They're
man.
the third Thursday, okay.
That's
I
right.
see, well, I was still on the first and third, changed the day, and then we changed the week.
The current schedule works out, third week of the month is meeting. On most months, we have sometimes have four nights. of meetings. With this, okay. So I left the third meeting of the month for the last PC meeting and figuring it would coincide with the work session to be able to have the PC meeting moving into the work session for the board the next month. Very landed.
Okay,
All right.
that's good. All right. Yes, I just wanted to take a moment to thank staff, Mike, John, Michelle, Ryan, Chief, and all of their efforts through the budget development. It was a learning experience. Looking forward to making it even better in the future. So just thank you for everything you've done. And given that holy cannoli, Thanksgiving is next week. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Gobble, gobble. Thank you.
Departmental reports have been filed in the meeting packet. And so,
I'll give it a second. I'm getting there. So does anyone have any comments or questions about the departmental reports? Well, no, that's the, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just looking at the monthly report for October, down the bottom, it's significant events. how would we be able to support the No Shave November by raising funds?
So we're actually, make a check out to the PDA. And then we're tracking how much money is donated. Then we will, take that money to sponsor a family under Operation Movement Spirit Break. But also, we sent out we're looking for recommendations on families, so we sent to Butler Elementary, Nova, a Woman's Place, Levy. You are aware of any families in the township that need assistance for the holidays, please let us know. Kind of a recommendation is what we're looking for. We'll gather recommendations.
Can we share that with our friends, family, and residents?
Yes.
And then my second question was, the charitable holding, Hoagie building contest, do you know the time, so that we can come cheer you guys on?
It's, I believe it's, can't be there, it's 8:30.
And has Randy okayed this? So they're set for the 18th.
As a temporary, if you could get one. Nothing that is health and safety. Just some comfort items.
Now she.
My report's in front of you. If you have any questions there ahead, I think Billy, real highlights besides the questions that you brought up. We are in the process of conducting interviews for a police officer. We'll have this complete this week. So that should hopefully be discussing something by the end of this month. Look forward to having some type of recommendation for the board.
I'll let the editor report. You cross my name, please. I'll talk to you about that later.
Okay. Fuck that.
I saw that last minute.
I was going to ask about the operational strategy. I thought you were going to talk about it. So,
We can talk about it.
okay, so you will, to organize yourselves into teams of assigned geographic-based policing. Have you worked out what?
We're still working on that. I've gotten some recommendations from the corporals. We haven't codified everything that we're going to do for that. I want to get this rolled out first, and then we'll start implementing things slowly.
So this is basically like what you'd love to do.
Yeah, we're going to have two areas based on there being 4 corporals. There'll be 2 in the street, assigned to the geographical area for responsibility. Just have to figure out, we want to divide it in a manner in which they have equal workload. So it doesn't make sense to have 2 corporals assigned to the south area, towards county line, and then 2 corporals up in the north where not as much.
It was very interesting to read. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the chief? Are there any questions in regards to the Park and Rec monthly report? All right.
One question, did I actually have them find somewhere to take the rubber?
Not yet.
Okay.
If
You know,
you're
buddy,
wondering
fully delivered.
Can it be used to spill or anything?
that,
No, because it's tires.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, next item under information is solicitor's report. Okay, engineer's report.
Give you comments that I have homework assignment, you guys to go look at Walters Road, Creek. Try to drive around and look at that tree during that creek. You go look at the one you just saw tonight. That's 7 feet clearance, 62 feet line. They can pass on your storm. You can just visually think of the difference. Matt and I are talking, I did talk to Mr. Structure a little bit today. We're putting our head, trying to wrap around
we can't spend $1.5 million, obviously. It's where it probably would be, and we still want to just do repair, but I discussed it with Charlie. Feasibility or ultimate design or concepts, and then we talk about staff elements.
Can you remind us how much it took for us to secure it last year?
I didn't bring any of that.
I can give you like that number.
I'd have to look up.
No, that was the total. That specific culvert, I believe, between 62, I'm gonna give you a range without having 52, 50 down for that specific culvert.
Yes.
Just to put back the road.
That was to put it back. The approximate cost.
I don't get much. Where I'm leaning, just based on your infrastructure here talk today, is maybe a small version of what they did at concrete span and that box culvert. Yeah, there's too much water coming down there. Compared to what you have. We have to just allow more to get out. Have that road be a dam, but have the velocity, just the new road will handle. That road sat there for 5, 10 years and didn't have a hurricane come through, probably would be much work. But you can after this point, so I gotta balance that. It's gonna take a little while, but we gotta work.
It's bringing another culvert next to the current.
Well, that's another option, do that other, it's fine, never do it, so is to put 2 road on either side. Construction, you're saying, now you're just creating more. Right, you're gonna, too much, because it's only designed for 5 years. You just saw 100 years. The direction we have is to replace the all these back roads. I mean, you guys just don't realize how many roads flood around here. Probably it's just the way it is. The roads flood, it goes through, it goes off. But flood plain, I didn't look at it yet. It's 7 inches, 300 feet wide. Where the water's coming down. And I'm not supposed to do this. You can't. You got to just somehow control it. So that's what you're gonna do. So, I'm not thinking that would be trying to keep up on structure. Balance, letting more out. Let more out, you have downstream properties available. Right? Let it go more, you're able to do it. So I got to be careful on that. But I did find out that she, and I'm just at some points when it's around 275 feet. So that's why it's sheep running over and over the state. I was involved in the competition. Couldn't afford. So we'll work on, I'll move that up the list.
Any
That road's gonna be closed for a while. So we can't say that we're not.
There is money in the 2022 preliminary budget to help with what we're doing and specifics to be TBD, but it's complicated. As I've said previously, I don't want to just throw money, put money after that, or just continuing to replace the pond and have it washed out. While we get reimbursed from the Fed with FEMA, again, wash and repeat, unintended. Looking at what can we do, look at possibilities of change upstream, not just where the point where it floods, but what can we do upstream to start slowing the flow of the water itself. So it's complicated. It's not as simple as just replacing and repairing the culvert. I want to make sure we make a really good educated decision.
I'm working on always plans. So I'm working on a plan, the concepts to get him to where he can guide me and get you on the next. Take some big steps here first. Any type of anything. I need more information design.
Do we ever check with Old Town Township about third stormwater basins, whether cross township stormwater? Was there any way to throttle that back? Somehow, that's, I have to believe that's a portion of the problem.
Oh, there's a lot of water.
That's what I'm saying, if there's any way to throttle that back slightly, that would eliminate us getting 300-foot wide swath of water coming at us anytime we get a severe thunderstorm.
Anything you would cover River Bridge? You doing anything on that, or we're going to talk about that at some point?
Money is in the 2022 budget for that as well. We just got the traffic volume count. The ADT, 40 vehicle trips per day. Average, not a lot of traffic.
Just cars or dump trucks or.
It was not based on the, it was just total vehicle. So we could get that number. We've got some ideas. No solutions quite yet. We're still looking at opportunities. Not comfortable presenting either of the solutions right yet. Still working out some of the details before we make it public.
All right. Next on our agenda is Board of Supervisors comments.
Yeah, yes. Going back to the budget. EMS is doing their budget right now. And it was brought to my attention that we have on our budget $15,000 for their capital. And they just wanted to make sure we were aware of it and that was coming their way.
For 2021.
Right here, yeah.
We need to have to see.
It was something, 5 years, it was 5 years of giving them $15,000.
Are they saying they didn't get the contribution for this year, or they're trying to commitment for next year?
But I'll double check on that.
Okay, well, we can double check that too.
I don't,
I'm on the board.
Okay. All right, so John and I will work on that, making sure that that check gets cut ASAP. 2021, and it is in the 2022 budget.
yes.
Thank you.
Pretty sure that's what it was, but.
Are there any other Board of Supervisors comments?
Being that it's November and we have 2022 is coming up, I would like to bring forward the concept that we should have board liaisons for our appointments rather than board seats. I would like to try and open it up to more involvement from our residents. Being that we have some open seats coming up from the joint sewer board, and we have some youth seats with Park and Rec that I totally know about. So I would just like to bring that forward to say, I'd like to include more residents on our boards and activities, and we will have a new one coming up next year, I'm assuming with the 300th anniversary. So, and try and bring more people from different areas, like the National Honor Society, schools, retirement homes.
Does anybody have other comments? I'm going to segue here for a second as part of my comment. Well, I mean, it's a comment because it comes out of a meeting that we had previously, and it's also in relation to the budget. We didn't put anything in the 2022 budget for the 300th anniversary, did we? We never all really came to a. No, we didn't. Yeah, we didn't set up a dollar figure.
I thought we left that we try not to do a consultant. That's so lame. Is that incorrect?
Yes and no. Matt's looking back at his, looking at his computer, hoping that we won't continue to all talk about this.
I thought we had said we need a planner,
Yeah,
but not an expensive.
not an
planner.
expensive planner. Yeah, it was a,
But don't go by my memory.
it was a snake eating its tail conversation, so.
I'm sure somewhere in this budget could be
Okay,
$15,000 to $25,000 every year.
okay, okay.
I was thinking more about it. I wonder. You're definitely like to get the community one. Suppose we had a talent, for a talent show. You know, put it out there, we got a talent. And I think we ought to be able to convince Central Park School District to let us use Butler Elementary. Since that initially was in the Township School. They got a nice big auditorium.
It is a good idea.
Are you gonna check it?
Oh, sure. I could get the old ladies to come out and have them.
Okay, so that's the end of my comments then.
I have only one other comment, and that's, well, maybe two, never trust them all. I didn't see it. The first comment is concerning, payroll and how it's handled, and, I think we need to have a discussion about the non-employee people that get paid, i.e. us. And cutting down the number of checks we get. I would prefer to be given my allotment once a year would be fine with me. Monthly checks just drive me a little crazy with the amount that it is. And the other thing is I would like to acknowledge Stephanie Shortle, who will be joining us up here in a month or so. And congratulate her.
I was comment about the board salary, if you all want to go direct deposit. make that happen too.
That's the only way to go.
Oh, we do get direct deposit, but I've got to make a monthly
One person.
adjustment.
What?
That's-
What?
What?
Bit of shaming.
Jesus. Really?
I said person. They know that.
we'll put that-
One person.
One person doesn't like that idea.
No, I don't even think about it. Half the time it sits in the box.
I was gonna say, have you gotten here yet?
Not for this month.
You know, I just, that's a good point. I mean, the staff is continuing to look for and explore efficiency. It might be another reason for efficiency. If that, you want to do a quarterly check, that could cut down on time. So thank you.
It will also cut down on costs. It will be paid by the person per month. If you want to be angry with that.
It's not what I don't need that monthly amount, most of which I donate to federal government anyway.
Stinks being self-employed, doesn't it?
They'll say, well, you donate your tax return, I'm like, oh, it's free checks, why would I do it early? There we go. Yeah, it's just, you know, so it's not necessary. I quarterly, monthly is too much. I don't depend upon that to eat.
You don't need that answer today, though, do you? Okay. I'll sign up for
Oh, you actually get a check?
Check. It's usually for God knows how long.
That screws up their bookkeeping.
Okay.
Just donate to 300.
I give it to my church. I don't even, anyway.
Well, you can tell them to donate it, Greg, we'll do it, direct deposit to your church, and get the church account.
Oh, I can do that?
Sure. You direct
If you're down to the church, you'll go there.
Anyway, on a separate note, Mary Beth beat me to it. I wanted to do it next month. because I always,
Honest, I don't know if I want to explain that in an audit. My money's going
to a church,
to a church.
to a religious entity.
Nah, I'm, don't know if I want
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Told me that time.
No, along with, no, not that, no, along with welcoming Stephanie, we do owe a very very big,
Good riddance.
very big thank you. And, I mean, how many years have
This
you?
is 24.
24 years now. So I was hoping to wait until December to say something, you know, because
Well, you can.
I don't want to,
They're gonna throw me a party, aren't they?
December 23rd.
We have to have, we have to have champagne.
But yes, Helen, because you voluntarily decided not to
Yeah, I.
rejoin us next
Time
year,
for somebody else.
but thank you very much for all your years of service. You've been on just about every board the township has ever formed.
I was not a part of that, but I
No?
always volunteered in jobs. But I ran Northland Watershed Association. Finally, it's dissolved.
Yeah, just couldn't survive.
Well, no, we didn't have any luck finding new people to go on with it.
More to come, but so, any old business? Is there any new business? Alright. So prior, do we,
I mean, I'm just for President to say that, if you have anything you want to discuss, you just here for.
For the fun of it.
Now?
for you?
Number 4, Holy Properties.
Oh, okay.
You were just
You're
here.
here for that, for something.
Yeah, just seeing it all plays out the way it should.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But I checked, you put up to 2 hours. I just wondered whether-
This is something I've been putting up with 5 years or so. So you can take 3 months. Yeah, just it's been a while. It's been
Can
a
I ask
while.
Who you are?
Steve Klauser,
Yeah, Klauser,
Holy
yeah.
Properties.
Okay, so then prior to my asking for a motion to adjourn, the next meeting of the Board of Supervisors will be on Monday, December 6th, 2021 at 9 a.m. here at the Township Building. The agenda and meeting materials will be posted at the website prior to the meeting date at newbritontownship.org. A recording of today's meeting will be on the Township's YouTube channel in the next 24 to 36 hours. Thank you all for your time this evening. At this time, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Thank you all. Yes, it is.